Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott, joined by Miguel Porter. Miguel, what's up?
We're almost done with October already.
Yeah, before you know it, you'll be in India.
Yep. Yeah.
That's just flying by.
It
It's
really
crazy.
is. Yeah.
This year has been crazy. I don't know. It feels like the longest year ever, but in a good way because there's been so many things. Like if I were to make a scrapbook highlight thing of this entire year, it's like, whoa, you've done quite a bit. That's so I guess that's a good thing, right? It's got to be a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to do nothing for an entire year. So I guess I
Yeah.
would rather be
True.
busy than not busy, even though non-busy times, it's nice. Everything's been spaced out well
Mm.
throughout the year. So all the trips, events, downtimes, uptimes, the whole thing has been pretty consistent. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
cool. And you got a big trip coming up. I'm trying to do extra curricular things like I was at the beginning of the year. Went to the X-Files Museum yesterday
Nice. How was that?
out in Saratoga. Who knew? It was 30 minutes away.
Hmm.
I took a lot of pictures. It was awesome.
Hmm.
The guy's been collecting for 32 years, and only half of his collection was out in the museum. He cycles it through every year, and
Yeah.
he'll get the showrunners to come. He'll get actors to come. They'll come out there and do presentations and things like that. Can't get David Duchovny or the lady that plays Scully because apparently her fee is $300,000 and his is like $150,000 for what the guy said. So that's pretty expensive to get him to
Yeah.
come out
Yeah.
to do a talk. Can you imagine being at that point in your life where you're like, someone's like, "Hey, Miguel, we'd love to have you come do a guest coach at our gym," and you're like, "Oh, okay. Well, here's my publicist or my They'll sort all that out with you." And they're like, "Yeah, well, his fee is $80,000 for that one class, and he'll stick around, for 30 minutes after and answer questions and things like that, and he'll pick the workout. But it's going to be $80,000. Can you just imagine being at that kind of stage in life?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the difference for like actors, depending on how active you still are and like the projects that you've done after, you're like, if I go there, I'm losing money.
Yeah.
Like I know that the actress who played Scully is still very active in like shows and stuff.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah. So I see why for her it's probably more because she's like, I'm working all the time.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
for me to leave would be like insane. Like
I,
that's why I feel like a lot of those like Comic Cons and like the smaller cons that they do, like they
mhm.
have like a Saratoga one and like Albany ones that they do. But a lot of those people that show up constantly are like the ones who that was the only thing in their career. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I just show up to these, they give me whatever, or like they just let me set up my booth for free or whatever. And I have people pay for like signatures. But other than that, like if you're busy, yeah, I'm sure it's just like takes a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, the guy was telling me about that too. You go to like a Comic Con, and let's say it's like a $200 package. You
Mhm.
get an autograph, you get to say hello, maybe a picture is included in that. But like if you do the math, like if you get 100 people, like they're making a crazy amount of money off of
Yeah.
that too. So it's really lucrative to do those things. And he did say that what you just said, some of those people, it's a lot less, they're kind of doing it for the love of the game, and it's
Yeah.
the only way they get attention now, and people remember them, and they're old, so they'll
Yeah.
go and talk to people. But the newer or younger people, or people who are still working, they get paid like that 300K,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it's the $300 per interaction for 500 people, and like I don't know. I think I would just do like one Comic Con and be like, yeah, I guess I'm not going to work the rest of the year.
Yeah.
That was pretty
Yeah.
good. That was a great year. You know, maybe I'll do. I don't know. I don't know how much they get paid to do shows too, but boy, they're making money. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It is a shame when like you have a favorite show or a show you really enjoy, and then in between seasons, the negotiations on pay don't go well, and then a
Yeah.
character doesn't return or something like that, and it kind of ruins the show. But yeah, it was awesome. I highly recommend it. I took a bunch of pictures that I'll post up eventually. Um, it was, I mean, I've never seen the X-Files from start to finish. I've only seen an episode here and there, the first movie, and then I just know it's like a big show. It's one of the
Yeah.
big ones, right? So this has given me an excuse to, all right, let me sign up for Hulu. And that's all I've been doing since yesterday to today is working on stuff. And we're going to binge all 10 seasons. After season 5, we'll watch that first movie. We're going to do it all. We're going to do it all up. I had no idea another show that I used to watch my mom way back in the day called Millennium is in the same universe, and they're connected. Had no idea. Same showrunners. There's only 3 seasons of that. That's not even streaming anything anywhere. If you want to watch that one, you have to buy the DVDs.
Yeah.
So I would like to somehow watch that eventually. So it was really cool, and I needed a show. I needed something. So it's perfect for this time of year. The X-Files.
Yeah.
And I did. All right, you're probably not supposed to, but like, all right, like you get like they have the monsters and all the exhibits and stuff, and like I just like not touched it, but I just like all right, there. I just put the back of my hand up against like that arm. Because now this is a whole unique experience now watching the show. I'm like, did I see that thing? And then like when the monster comes out, I was like, I've touched that monster. Like I was thinking about that because I knew going in, I'm like, I'm gonna have to watch this show now. As soon as I pulled up to the building, I'm like, crap, we're watching the X-Files now, aren't we? I'm like, yeah, we are. And then I got in there, I'm like, well, I want to find some of these things when I watch the show, and like I just like touched a robe, this, that, and it's like, all right, now I it's a different interaction with the show that I've never had with any other one before.
Yeah, no, that's actually that is cool. It's interesting that you went without being that big of a fan before, but I guess that's a unique experience now when you're watching it. Like I guess I have some of that with like movies. Like I know a lot of movies even without watching them. Like I guess you could say when I was younger, like late junior high, like in early high school, I was like, I guess like very into like comedy and that type of stuff. And so much of it is just references. So I like made it a point to like just know references. So I know a lot of the time, like somebody will mention like music or movies that like came out before I was born. And I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about. Have I seen it? No. But I know exactly what moments you would bring up because these are the moments that people talk about from this thing. But if you're like, do you remember this? And I'm like, no, not really. But if you talk about it, I might have an idea.
Like if you've never seen The Terminator, I'll be back or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Like the references that people would, or like, I'm pretty good at like, oh, do you realize that this line in this song is referencing a song from way back when? Or like this bit that we see in TV shows all the time started from this TV show or this movie, like way back when. And I always try to get that. But I think, my issue with movies is like, I kind of know the cultural beats to them. So like watching them for the, I guess, quote unquote, first time is like tough. Cause I'm like, I feel like I already know this, but watching a new TV show or like newer TV show and like seeing the props in real life and stuff, that must be pretty cool.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, I guess like when I think of the X-Files, I had thought like it's just aliens all the time. And that kind of alien thing with like, oh, this guy got abducted, stuff like that. That doesn't really do it for me as much. But then like I was looking through the photos, some of the photos they had on their website, and I'm like, oh, the show did things like cryptids and monsters and creatures, and so I'm big into that. And then I also appreciate prosthetics and actual physical art, like the guy's wearing the suit and you make him look scary versus CGI. So I was like, all right, well, since I appreciate all that in film and shows and stuff, let me go out and see it. It's a legendary show, and now now I'm into it. So been bitten by the bug.
Yeah.
And what you call it with I signed up to the newsletter because now when they flip over the
Mhm.
collection, well, I got to go again,
Yeah.
and go see it. And it is cool to see. Like I was telling the guy, I'm like, I see the prosthetics and the costume, but when you're watching the show, they made it look so good,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
with the movie magic and everything. And of course, maybe there's a little bit of CGI in there, like touch ups, but it's incredible. You're like, this is what they wore. This looks like a costume from, Spirit of Halloween,
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
like a really, really expensive one. And it's like, yeah, that's what the guy wore. And they just made it look that way with the lighting and the
Yeah.
acting and put like sprinkling water on it and stuff like
Yeah.
that to make it look alive. That stuff's incredible. It would be cool to work on a project like that. Like not actually be able to put it together, but like just be all right, I'll be the water sprayer guy. And like you're just like a part of it.
Yeah. I have I guess you could say friend, Bree, who got into like, well, she did like a bunch of like wardrobe stuff, like she sews, but she got really into like puppetry, um, like creating the puppets. I the obviously the guy's very famous. The name escapes me right now, but the
Jim
Muppets guy.
Henson?
Yes.
Jim Henson?
So she's kind of like within that same like realm, and she's like shown us like, oh, these are puppets that I created. Here are the commercials that I've worked on, and this is like the difference between a Muppet and a puppet, and like this and that. And like she's been on a bunch of like movie sets. I think she's currently in LA on a job. Um, but yeah, that type of thing is really cool. Where she's like, yeah, either like she's doing wardrobe for a commercial, or like that meme when Kermit's like sipping the Lipton tea.
Yeah.
Like she worked on that.
Oh, nice.
Um, and it's stuff like that where it's just like, yeah, like she knows how to operate them. She like will make the clothing for them that they wear, or like, repairs and all this stuff. And it's, yeah, super interesting.
Yeah. It's cool to get behind the scenes look on things, especially things that you enjoy. And it's also cool that like you never know like what I guess quote historic thing is in your area. Like I went down
Yeah.
a whole rabbit hole. The Camp Crystal Lake, the actual place and where they filmed it is down in New Jersey. You could drive there. It's not called
Hmm.
that, but they have like a plaque that like they
Right.
know, like you can go to visit the Amityville
Hmm.
house. You can do all these different things, and it's just cool like when you stumble upon like a hidden gem like that. And you can do
Yeah.
that with gyms too. Like you travel around and you find some gym and you're like, oh yeah, this is where they held this competition, or this
Yeah.
historic lift was done here, or this Olympian used to lift here. And it's just not advertised, as much. I would like to eventually make a trip down to York, Pennsylvania, to see the actual weightlifting Hall of Fame. Because as I was
Mhm.
driving back from the X Files Museum, I saw there's the Racing Hall of Fame up here, and there's Hall of Fames all over the place. You drive
Yeah.
by them
Yeah.
all the time, and I'm like, I always have this thing in my head. I'm like, I'm gonna stop in there eventually, but I'm just like
Yeah.
not that big into most of them that I see. Like, all right, the Hall of Fame for soccer or football. Like, I'm just not that big of a fan. I'm sure I'll appreciate it if I
Yeah.
get in there, but making a special trip is not something I would actively pursue. But the
Hmm.
weightlifting Hall of Fame, I think, would be cool to do. Now, do you think
Yeah.
that like if do you think people in the barbell club would go for like if we had like a group trip to drive out there and go to the Albany Cross Barbell Club goes to the Hall of Fame?
I'd have to see how far it is, and then to what are they offering? Like, because like I'm thinking the Basketball Hall of Fame, right? They have like
Yeah,
places where you can check like how high could you dunk, like what type of hoop could you go on, like as long as they have like interactive things, right? Like if
yeah,
they had like some force plates and stuff, like that would be interesting. But if it's just like only like if it's everything's like essentially behind a glass, then that makes it a little bit harder to want to again make a trip out. Like that's something
yeah.
that like you might stop in, but yeah, if it's something interactive, then yeah. I'd be interested.
I think, yeah. All right. It's definitely not in like some guy's house or something. It's a
Right.
nice building and everything.
Hmm.
I don't know about interactive stuff. I'd have to look that up. I've seen pictures of it, but of course they don't show you everything on the pictures. Just like, oh, there's
Yeah.
that thing, that thing. Um, yeah, something to look into. I think York, PA is like 4 hours away. It's a drive. It is
Mm.
a drive. That's the one thing. The closest I've ever gotten was when Frank and Tracy did the AO2 in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. This was like right when the AO series like
Yeah.
became a thing. It might have even been called the North American, or no, it was just the American Open Series. They added the North later on,
Yeah.
and it was like an hour away from there. So like I was gonna try to like wake up early, go drive out there, look at the museum, drive back, and then coach them later on in the afternoon. And that just it didn't happen. You always like you can't.
Yeah.
It's hard to plan side quests on like trips overall, especially
Hmm.
trips where that like you've got to be there. You can't like your car can't break down. So
Yeah.
that's the closest I've been to doing it. But yeah, I'll look into it, and then maybe we'll see if people want to do it. Maybe that's like a nice summer's trip or something. We'll look
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
Well, we had a funny thing happen last week. In our last talk, we mentioned Hotel California. Once you can check out, but you can never leave. And we joked around that like, all right, when are you going to get back into the barbell club? And then we also talked about our friend from Japan and how, all right, it's cool when he drops or they dropped in, and it'd be cool if he dropped in again. I'm hearing myself back. Do you hear me? Do you hear?
Slightly.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know how to stop that. Is your volume turned up really big, really loud?
Yeah. Let me see. Can you still hear yourself?
Test. Not as much now.
Okay.
Maybe my volume's up too much. Do I sound loud?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. So he came back on Monday. It was the craziest thing. All of a sudden I was coaching a 515 class, and I look and I'm like, is that can't be? And he's back from Japan. He's back in town for business. And then so he lifted with us on Monday, and then he couldn't come in on Wednesday, and then he came in on Friday, and then we were going to go out to eat as a group, take him out for more Mexican food because he really enjoyed that last time. And then you hop back in pretty much because he was there.
Yeah. 100%. I would not have been there otherwise.
So it's just a crazy, that it's like the thing with like like with like life in general is like you couldn't write so many things that happen any better than how they actually happen, which is always amazing to me when like they make a movie about a true story and then they start adding creative license stuff. It's like you didn't need to do that. The story itself was fantastical enough. Like the Wire. I watched The Wire last fall, and the guy that I forgot his name. He's like one of the main characters, but like he's like a legendary street guy who he was like Robin Hood. He used to rob other criminals and things like that. And a lot of the stuff that happened in the show was based off of a real guy, and he really did those things, like jumping out of a 5-story building, and living after getting in a gunfight. And it turns out in the show they made it like a 2 or 3-story building because the real story was too like they're like, no one's going to believe that this happened.
Yeah.
But it really did happen. So it's always amazing that when they embellish on things in films, especially for sports films. Isn't that weird that like there's actual film footage of someone making that lift or doing this play in the game and they like change it? Why do you think they do that? That's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, movies and TV shows have formulas. So, I mean, like you have to make it pacing wise, like certain ways. Yeah, so that would be the only reason I would think of like it just has to fit within, because sometimes it's like in real life things are quiet for a long time, and then a bunch of stuff happens all at once, and you're like, oh, for a movie we got to spread this out because we can't just do a time jump of like 2 years where nothing happens. Like something's got to happen in between then.
I would respect it. I would respect it. There's that movie that came out this year, Warfare, and I guess it's like they kept the story like as legit to what the people's comments were that lived it and the documentations, and they didn't add anything else.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's cool, and that movie was good. That movie was intense. So I wish that they would do that more often. Just let the story itself speak. But I know there's money. That's the thing, right? There's money involved.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna tell the Miguel Porter story, and then there's gonna be like some rival that's trash talking in the warm up room, something like that, and you're like, that never happened.
Yeah.
That must be weird too. How would you react if you were a part of something and then you watch the like made for TV movie, or they made a big blockbuster movie about something that you were involved in, and you're watching it and you're like, none of this happened. I don't even know how you react to that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I feel like people get to a point where they're big enough that their life would become these things, and I think partially those people embellish themselves over time.
Yeah.
So I think like
Probably.
sometimes it is a mixture of like, yeah, there is record, but also the way that this guy talks about it, it's like that's also not how it went down or whatever. So I don't know. There are those times where it's like, oh yeah, it didn't exactly go like this, but I think people are usually happy to like have their stories seem more compelling.
Yeah. Like in the TV movie for Barbell Club, you get a call and he's in town from Japan. He's like, Miguel, I have no place to stay. And then you take him in, and then you guys are training together, and then you get back in the training, and now you move to Japan. You're on Team Japan. It just starts to get crazy, and everyone's like, no, he just walked into the gym one day. Like it was just a coincidence. So yeah, that was just pretty cool that that all happened. How was it being back into training? When you all right, hold on. When did you know that you were going to come in? And then did you think back to our conversation and you're like, wait a minute, it's the sport is pulling me back in. The spirit of the sport willed this guy to come back to the United States and get you to come back into the gym.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I figured that I would probably hop into a session here or there. I didn't like plan for it. Like, I mean, that's probably been like the best part of the hiatus is like, I don't have to do anything. I mean, I guess before I didn't have to either, but I mean, like that is training of like, this is what I do. So I always figured like, maybe I'll hop in on whatever day. But I mean, yeah, Friday wasn't any, I think even, yeah, because I mean, no Alex back, and the only other new person currently in the club is Kylie, and Kylie wasn't there, so yeah, I was just in my regular spot like before, so it didn't seem like really anything different.
Yeah, it's like you never left, and I hear you are again snatching in the 80s, kind of cleaning in the 110s, which 82 110, not too bad. On the yo-yo complexes. Were you happy with those results just to kind of see where you're at?
Yeah, overall, I mean, it didn't really even feel like I'm not back into training, so I can't hit like numbers. It's more like, oh, I just haven't done this specific thing in a while anyway. Yeah, so it was really just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go. Because I wasn't exactly sure on how you wanted like everyone who's been training to like go about it. So I was like, I'm just going to kind of go and, off of what feels good and what I want to try. But yeah, no, it felt good. Felt fine. I think there were still some things of like, yeah, I just haven't done this in a while. Like my front rack didn't feel like it would if I was like training this whole time. But yeah.
How'd the cleans feel? Like heavy on the legs, standing up with it, or just holding it there for a second, core, anything like that?
Yeah, again, I think it was honestly just the front rack. I think with the snatches too, it was more obviously I have the way that I snatch where I shrug early and stuff like that. But I think snatch, it was that overhead position just because of my wrist. And then cleans were front rack. I think everything else, like legs feel fine. Um, yeah, nothing felt like heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. And nothing really looked heavy. You were moving quickly. I think we even talked about maybe you might have to take some speed off of it for the particular drills that we were doing in the yo-yo complex there. But yeah, so it was nice to have you back in the room. It's funny people's reaction to you being back in the room. Some people surprised, some people like, hey, what are you doing here? You're
Mhm.
only back in here. They knew why you were back. It wasn't
Yeah.
to see them, which is funny itself. And it was fun to talk. I'm pretty sure I say his name wrong all the time. Taktoro.
I think it's Taktuo.
Taktuo.
Yeah.
Okay. What Toro? What am I making it too Spanish or something? I don't. Taktua.
I say O at the end, but
Taktuo. Okay. Taktuo. We'll say that. It's always fun talking to him about weightlifting stuff. I asked him. I said because he has a competition coming up in November.
mhm.
So I asked him. I said, "Hey, when do you start tapering?" Because he's doing what we're doing, and if he wanted to do his own thing, he would have been welcome to. I
Right.
guess I didn't really think to ask him because he's got a meet coming up, and he went pretty heavy on both complexes. And I said, "When do you start tapering?" And then once we finally like got through the part of like, what am I talking about with this word tapering? He said about 3 days before the competition, he starts to back off things and go a little bit lighter. And I'd like to get more clarification on like, is that big meat, little meat? Is he training through? I kind of feel like this is a big meat he's doing, or like because I don't imagine they have as many meats as we do, where we can just have like kind of not a throwaway meat, but like a train through meat. But
It kind of
I thought that was
depends
interesting.
on levels. Like we were kind of talking about last week with different countries, what like the athletes that they send to like worlds and stuff, and just their own continental and country games and stuff. I know they just had all Japan championships probably in the last like few weeks, I think.
Hmm.
Um, but I think based off what I've seen, which I was also looking at him this time when we were doing like the our first part with the snatch like warm up B
The
complex.
skill transfer exercises.
Yeah. Um, what I've seen, they're very much like high percentages at like high reps at high percentages, or like just a lot of reps. Like they're very used to, from what I've seen, like they showed one guy, I think at Worlds last year or at one of the like Grand Prix or something, um, his snatches in like, I think he went to open at like let's say like 140 something, and he took 120 like 3 times in the back room. And then they were like, oh, like 2 more attempts got added in, or like a couple 2 minute clocks. And he took like more attempts at that weight. And then there was a big gap between his, I think, first and second, or second and third. And he went back to the back room, hit multiple uh, warm ups back there as well at like the same, like pretty heavy weight. Um, so the way that they train, from what I've seen, is just like the coach will give you just like hit 12 sets at your top weight. And I think I've seen like some of the high school training and stuff. So like they'll say 12 sets, and like all the girls will hit 12 sets, but they know the boys probably won't hit all 12 sets, which is why they give them 12 sets, because they're like, all right, if you do 8, then we're good. But it's like a bunch of sets, a bunch of reps. I guess to just like build that endurance or like comfortability with those weights.
This is
But
their working weight, right? Like
yeah,
their top for the day.
so like total, they'll do like 20 sets.
Oh, I love it. I
Yeah.
dream. I dream of 12 working sets. I do, Miguel. We've tried little things like that before,
Yeah.
but it requires everyone being prepared for it,
In
or maybe
time.
we.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it's cool to see those other schools of thought and perspectives and
Mhm.
how they do things. He was asking me about like staying over on the pole, and he was like, is that just how you teach it? And I was like, no, not necessarily. It's just one isolated part of the whole movement that we're just focusing on right now.
Yeah.
I told him, like, we're exaggerating it. Like, you would never pull that thing all the way up to your lap, stay over, and then try to finish it.
Yeah.
What we're doing though is just to teach patience and build strength in that non-finished position, so that when it gets to your low to mid thigh, you'll have stayed over it long enough for you, and then you go.
Yeah.
Versus like let's say the bar hasn't even cleared your knees yet and you're already pulling back, type
Yeah.
of deal, because that's what everybody wants to do. um, because they're just jumping, which that therein lies the confusing part of it, because sometimes to get people to do the move you have to tell them to jump,
Yeah.
so they're like, no one jumps like that. So it's a weird thing, and that'd be another thing to kind of talk about with foreign lifters and foreign coaches. Like, do you guys even use the word jump? Like, how do
Mhm.
you make this make sense for people who are just kind of starting out, first time? And he was observing me teaching Jordan. So we have a new athlete joining the barbell club. His name's Jordan. He works with Mike at Leah Hyundai, and he hears about Mike's success and training all the time, and they talk about working out. And he's at a point in his life where he's focusing more on his fitness. He was training on his own in the free weight room. He's doing karate classes as well right now, and now he wants to get stronger with the barbell. And so Taktoa was observing, and he asked me during dinner. He said, "Do you?" He says his coach has like a beginner's class.
Yeah.
So if you want to start weightlifting and have access to the coach, you got to sign up and then you go to that class. That's the only opportunity you get. And then I was explaining to him that no, we were working one on one, and he's like, "Oh, that's very generous, like to do that." And I guess like maybe that's like a hierarchy thing. It's like you got to earn your right to be able to spend time with the coach or something like that. I don't know. That'd be
Yeah. I
something
mean,
diving deeper with him.
I think it's also like, I remember the first time he was here and we were talking about the space overall.
Mhm.
Because I know that that's something that people always notice with our gym is just how much space we have.
Yeah.
Um, but I think a big thing for us is space. Because I even think about like, there was a time where I was going to sign up to do jujitsu, but they're very much like mat time is important. In a lot of places like that, I mean, even like some gyms will have like, oh, this is beginner time because we only have this one room and it's not big enough to be shared. And you might only have like one coach as well. So it's like only like you need to go within the scheduled time. Like we're lucky that we have multiple coaches and, a bunch of space that people can kind of, we can work with other people's schedules. But yeah, a lot of places like they have like beginner mat time, or even when I did my silks class that I went to, it's like they have like, this is either open slash beginner. So like open, like if you are a beginner, you can also come here and you have the coach to help, or like a specific beginner time. You cannot come during like the established time. It would be like the same thing of someone just jumping straight into barbell, but they don't have, they might, but like a lot of places don't have the like, all right, just let us know what works for you and we'll try to figure that out and we can do it one on one. A lot of places are very much like, this is the beginner class. And sometimes those also last longer. where it's like you almost have to like graduate after like a couple months. You can maybe start
Yeah.
going into the other classes.
Yeah, and I like that. That's something that I've not fully like that, but it just we've talked about it in the past on just creating a healthy barrier for people who want to join the barbell club, or who they may think they want to join the barbell club. So yeah, I'll have a conversation with someone and let them know exactly what we do. Hey, you don't get to do your own lifting or your own programming. You're doing what we're doing. I'm giving you the numbers. You're going to get feedback and I always make sure that's up front because some people are shocked when they do get feedback.
Yeah.
They're almost offended too if they don't come up in that kind of an environment. Letting them know what times the classes are. For our barbell club, you only have these 3 days at those times to do it. Otherwise, you can't do it. It's not going to work. And then now creating this kind of barrier where before you join, you have to meet with me, and I would do that to people who say they have experience or someone who's completely new, like Jordan. And because like people who say they have experience, I go by the Dr. House rule or logic of everyone lies. That's
Yeah.
whenever I'm talking to people and they want to start CrossFit and they're like, "Yeah, I've done cross before." I'm like, "I don't think you have." You know, I'm just going to assume you haven't. And then they come in and you can see that you've maybe done CrossFit where the programming's packed into the class and like you warm up on your own. Then we're going to do a heavy lift. Then we're going to do a Metcon. Then we're going to do this. Then we're going to do that. Versus like, okay, we're going to circle up. All right, everyone squat down. Hey, push your knees out. And you're like, hey, why are you picking on me? Like, all right, so you've not done this the way that we're going to do it. So,
Yeah.
So I think that it's good for the barbell club overall too, because, it would be difficult for Jordan just to jump right in, even during the off season with no experience, not knowing anybody. And I think that you guys, like if everyone's there and everything, and we're going full bore, that's an intimidating room.
Yeah.
Like that's way more intimidating than the regular CrossFit class. That's a scary room. Everyone's got shoes on and belts, and everyone's all, everyone's typically all wearing black. It just looks like a more hardcore, intense type of thing. Everyone knows how to set up the squat racks, and you're like, I don't even know what the squat rack is. So it's like, it's going to be good for him to be able to have gone through those things. And the nice thing about him is, since he's going through karate at the same time, he's also like learning about like discipline and respect, and like, hey, you have to practice the sequence. I was talking to him. I'm like, hey, when your instructor is having you do katas, they have you do rep after rep after rep of the whole sequence. And it's going to take a lot of reps to get good at it and fluid at it. And that's exactly how the snatch and clean and jerk are. And he's like, that makes sense. And it's not about the weight. The weight will come, but you got to get more flexible. And the only proof that I need that he needs to get more flexible is when I'm holding him in his front squat and I'm pushing his elbows up in the bar into his neck. And he's like, so he sees it, he feels it, and he's getting it. So I think he's starting off on a really good foot, with everything he's doing. Plus, he's strong. Like I can tell, he's strong already.
Yeah.
He just needs to figure out the moves. And it's one thing to be strong. It's another thing, I think, to be stable and able to use that strength. Like he might be able to squat, I don't know, somewhere's mid twos comfortably. I think if you pushed him to like into the threes, maybe he could do it, but like, what does it look like? Because like the awareness, the experience, the wisdom inside of the lifting is not there yet. So, and I think that's where, as a coach, you can get into a lot of trouble with that. You could get an athlete like Jordan. You're like, oh, he's got some base athleticism and he's a big guy, and so he has strength by being a big guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not necessarily strength that's been built. And so all of a sudden you're like, oh, we can have him do this. We can have him do that. And that's how you hurt him.
Yeah. It's like it's strength versus applied strength. Like some people don't know how to do it. Like you might be able to squat 350, but you've never really felt even like a barbell on your back, that actually feels like weight. So you
A
don't know
crushing
what to do
feeling.
at the bottom. So you're like, I don't even. And then, like, again, like with bigger, like stronger people, you see them do things that you're like, I didn't even know that was a possible thing that you could do. But
Yeah.
because of the strength that's in there, they're like, oh, I'm not too sure. I'm just gonna do something weird. But you're like, ooh, uh, good thing you are strong. But yeah, like if they're
Yeah.
not used to moving their bodies in certain ways, it's like the strength is there, but we can't tap into it yet.
Yeah. Like I explained, like I told him, I'm like, you're we don't like you're gonna feel like you're a cannon in a canoe. Like you got boom, big blast, but that
Right.
canoe goes all over the place. So what we have to do is build out your boat. That way when you fire that cannon, the boat doesn't wobble and go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so he's strong to help you move your couch and all that other stuff, or move platform wood or things like that. Just pick up one piece. But like you were saying, if you have that bar on your back and it's 350, you get down there and you feel the resistance of the bar as you start to come up, and you feel the micro movements in your body that feel like big gross movements, and you
Yeah.
can feel that pressure in your face where it's like your face is going to explode, blood coming out of and all that stuff. Like, how do you react to that? Like,
Yeah.
the only way you react to that is by the volume you've done before, all those sets of 5, where even though it was a sub maximal weight, rep number 5 felt like the heaviest thing you've ever done, but you survived it. And that gives you confidence, and that builds up your endurance for strength, and your muscles, for growth, and just your baseline strength overall goes up without having to like approach a 1 rep max or anything like that.
Yeah.
So he's a perfect candidate for 3 sets of 5 sets of 5. We would start with 3 sets of 5 to not kill him, and then
Yeah.
eventually build up the volume. So it's so he's a fun athlete in that regard. You just have to make sure that like you're not having too much fun. That's just an
Yeah.
easy mistake to make as a coach. I've done it before. You're like, oh, all right, let's max out, let's do stuff, like, but you're like, you gotta if we're calm about it right now, then next year when states is rolling around, we might be able to do that's where we have the fun. We don't have to have the fun right now, day 3. So it's cool in that regard. And I was explaining to him, we started the snatch just PVC pipe, and we're holding positions, and oh boy, like he's sweating, he's making noises he's probably never made before. Things are burning. He's feeling his body. I'm hitting him on the back. You got to flatten that back. I'm pushing his knees out. So I'm having him hold a lot of positions, and he's learning quickly, like, I need to try to find that again. But then when we go to the 15-pound bar, I was like, congratulations, that's your new PR. And then we went to the 45-pound bar. I'm like, that's the most you've done from the hips, from the knees. We did 35 pounds from the floor. So like, even though we're practicing technique, we're still increasing the weight. And increasing the weight doesn't only come in the form of I have to add plates, and it's not real till it gets to a big plate. So during his first session, he snatched from all 3 positions 35 pounds with a 15-pound bar and 10-pound plates. And we're still doing the same positions. We're still working on the technique. The bar gives him more feedback than the PVC pipe does.
Yeah.
But we didn't move on to that until I was satisfied with what he did with the PVC pipe. So that brings up the question of, where does it end, learning the lifts and training the lifts? Or are they happening concurrently from the beginning? That from the moment you pick up some sort of a bar, you are training the lifts. Every rep you do gets feedback. Every rep you do is moving your body through space and time into a receiving position. Then we add a 1-pound bar, then a 2-pound bar, and then eventually a year later, you're at 120 kilos. Like, where did learning stop and training begin? In Glenn Penley's book, he's said yes and yes. It's exact same time, but people try to like segment them. So what do you think about that?
I don't know. It depends. I think intention is very important. Like I think even like the way that I speak about it, where for me there's a difference between like, oh, I'm going to barbell club, which means I'm training, and I'm like I'm doing a CrossFit workout and I'm working out.
Mm-hmm.
Because one is like, and I'm not saying it's like because I compete in one and not the other, but in my head, like my intentions are different going to one or the other. I think also like the repetition again. So like CrossFit can be anything. You can have a different goal in mind with barbell club depending on the day. But I think sometimes you're just going in there to like get a sweat and just move. Where with like learning barbell stuff, my intention is to refine. And I guess with our definitions here, like training versus learning, learning is like, again, I guess that is the whole point of like it's blurred, but learning is very much most of the information is new. And then I think training is again like refining, like
Mm-hmm.
fine tuning versus, like maybe this is just a violin thing, but like violins have like the big tuners at the top for your strings. Like if you're really off, you have to start off with those. And then they have fine tuners down towards the bottom where are just like little screws. That's like, if it's just a tiny bit off, you can use these to kind of get it there. So I think learning is more of like the big stuff, and training is more like it's inevitable that you will learn more and you will refine in training, but learning is very much like I am trying to absorb more information here
I
in
think
my head.
CrossFit's a good example. You come to class and it's Fran, the workout, and we're going to go through progressions on the pull-ups. And so we're training the pull-ups, but we're also learning the pull-ups a little bit too, because not everybody has them. And so even people who do have them, you're going to do your kip swings, you're going to do different drills, and you're going to learn your body awareness and what you have to do that day even. But then also we're going to go into the workout and we're going to do practice multiple reps and stuff like that so that you are training. So I kind of think like the format of a class is like a good example on like where they are like two distinct things, but then there's a blurry part in the middle
Yeah.
where because like you've got pull-ups for days, you've got chest bar pull-ups and bar muscle ups, so like when you're doing your kip swings, you're not necessarily learning how to do a pull-up where other people next to you are, but you might be learning like what does Miguel need to do today, or you might learn, oh, my shoulders are really stiff, or I'm not doing a good job of one aspect of it, my feet are wild today, or I'm not focusing on that part of it because I learned it in the past but I forgot to do it today, kind of a deal. So yeah, so something like that, they kind of blur it in. And even in the barbell club, it could be, it's almost the same thing where you put down your focus or your intention on it, and you could be lifting, but during your lifting, you kind of learn something about yourself, even on like, oh, that's not working today, or where do I put my feet? So it's like I have to remember where I put my feet. Are you relearning it, or are you just reminding yourself? I don't know. Yeah, you can see it gets very fuzzy and blurry in the
Yeah.
middle there. But I think that's a cool thing about it. On like you are like, so like, was Jordan learning or was he training? That's, I guess, the next question. He is learning because I showed him what the snatch was, and then he practiced it, and then we continued to refine it, and then we were doing essentially sets and reps, and then so he was doing triples on everything with the weight like ever so slowly climbing up after he's done enough reps. So like if you come, let's say if he came in the barbell club and we were going to do triples from the high hang, and it said for you 40, 50, 60, 70, but for him, maybe I'm just next to him, he's just coming in the barbell club, and I show him what it is, and I'm walking him through the reps, and he does PVC pipe 15-pound bar, 35-pound bar, 45-pound bar. Where's the difference? And what is he doing versus what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and sometimes it's like training what? Like again, I think if it's new information, it's more I don't think you can train what you haven't learned. Like I don't think your first few times with something can be training, I guess. Um, but potentially the training is like, all right, he's also doing karate and like training you up in a way of like training you up in a way of like this is how we're going to train. So it's like you already do work out or have worked out, but now this is like a different mindset that we need to get you ready for when you're getting into barbell clubs. So it's like here's a format that you're going to be using. So maybe the movement is new to you that you're learning. The format is more like let's get you ready for something. So maybe that's also more of a piece of training is like getting you ready for something.
Yeah. Like the most extreme, I guess let's look at the extreme ends. The most extreme of learning would be just reading a book. Like he comes in, I give him Glenn's book. I'm like, you have to read that before we even talk. And like, so that's only learning. Or you watch these videos, like that's only taking in without doing. And then the other extreme of training would be competition. Like it's all the way at the fringe end. You can't go any further than
Yeah.
competition. So that's like the full on application of everything that you've learned and everything that you've trained. And then at some point, and so no one, well, some people do start with just the material. They're like, I want to, what is weightlifting? And they start watching videos in their house or on their phone and stuff. Maybe they read some articles. They're probably not going to buy a book and read a book. Although I guess I think people probably still do that.
Yeah, I know some people who definitely would, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And then boom, now next thing you know, you're in the gym. And so I think the learning, there is a moment of just learning, but I think it's like fleeting. Like
Yeah.
like it starts to like just turn into training. Especially I think the more sessions you string together.
Yeah.
Like so like if he had just done that one session with just the snatch and I never saw him again. So kind of like me doing my one fencing, archery, and handgun lessons, right? I took a lesson. I learned. I did the thing, but I wasn't training.
Right.
I would have to go multiple times, I think, to start to get it into training. So that first day, there were training elements in there for Jordan, and we certainly added weight. But now into day 2, he did the snatch again. Now and it was the exact next day. He's snatching again, and we added more weight. And it's it's funny to think about. He might be training the snatch right now because we're going to do it a third time, but he hasn't started training the clean and jerk yet. If I'm kind of going off of this thread that I'm on right now. And then he'll start to come the barbell club. So I guess then, oh boy, there's a rabbit hole then. If I don't know, I guess you can't put that definition fully onto it on one or the other. It's just like kind of like a micro thought, because then for CrossFit, you come to one class and it's you're bench pressing. Then you never see the bench press again for weeks on end. And the next day, something just running. Are you training just because you're in the gym?
Yeah.
When does CrossFit training is CrossFit training just you just start?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I think for me, the reason I see CrossFit as more of a workout is that frequency of it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like if I'm just popping in, it kind of relates to what you were saying with like the archery and handgun and fencing, where you wouldn't call yourself a blank because you've only done it once. Like I don't know if I would necessarily call myself a CrossFitter. And I don't know if that's the difference there, where I wouldn't say like I'm training CrossFit, or like when I go to a CrossFit class, I don't know if I would say that I'm training, but because like I would call myself a weightlifter.
Yeah,
So I think maybe training may also be like when you identify as that thing.
I can see
Because I
that.
think
I think
like,
that's another component to it.
yeah, like I think the people who go to CrossFit classes as their main thing, like I would say most people at our gym are more CrossFitters than I would say that I'm a CrossFitter. So I think for them, like that is their training, because they're like, yeah, I train CrossFit. That's what I do. Whereas I'm kind of just like a guest every now and then, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So even now, as I do like my own thing, it's like it is more weightlifting focused. Like I am very much like, I just got to make sure that my, unilateral strength is good. My legs are still strong for when I'm lifting, that my back is still good for the pulls that I'm going to have to do when I'm lifting. Like a lot of the training is still geared towards me being a weightlifter, even if I'm not doing the main lifts all the time.
And I wonder too, like in weightlifting, the focus is obviously the barbell and the snatch, clean, jerk, and the squat, you know, and then pulling from the floor and pressing. But for CrossFit, maybe it's hard. You can't really justify like, am I training or learning or anything like that based on the specific movements, but it's more the energy systems. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we have these we'll just narrow it down to oxidative, glycolytic, and then the phosphagen. So we are training these energy systems, and we cycle through those periodically. The same way in barbell club, you would cycle through pressing on one day, squatting on one day, and pressing on another day. So maybe that's where it's training. And then on your first session, if you just drop in and try a CrossFit class for the very first time, you are going to get a dose of some kind of energy system training, whatever it is that day. It could be Cindy, it could be Fran, it could be a heavy lift. The same way you would if you just went and did an archery lesson where you tried the thing, but you weren't training it. You learned
Yeah.
about it. You learned about what it felt like. And then, but now once you come in, you start to check those boxes periodically. Once or twice a week, you're getting, glycolytic, you're going heavy, things like that. Well, I guess, all right. So now, is there a limit to the number of days you have to be doing a thing to be saying you're training it? Because like if you're CrossFitting, but you never come in on the heavy days or come in on the days you don't like, are you still training CrossFit? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is an identity thing of like, I mean, you do hear people say like, yeah, I'm a CrossFitter, but I don't do this stuff, or like, oh, I gymnastics isn't my thing. Like there are CrossFitters who solely do barbell stuff, but they wouldn't call themselves weightlifters.
Yeah.
So I think it's like
So
an acknowledgement of, again, I think it's like what you kind of see yourself as. Even if you like skip certain things, I think if you still identify as something, it's like you are training that thing. But I think it's, yeah, again, like an awareness, like, that you are skipping out on some things. Like, even if in the future, when I like do my triathlon stuff, where I'm like, oh, I'm not biking right now, but I am doing triathlon. I'm doing the two other things
there's an
consistently.
intention.
Right. But I'm not doing the biking yet. So that is a piece that is missing, but it's all in form to get to this thing, that it's all together.
And there's probably a line somewhere there too. Like, all right, there's the guy that plays pickup basketball once a month. His buddies always want to get together once a week, and he only comes once in a while. But then on his Instagram bio, he puts, I'm a basketball player. But it's like, all right, but you haven't played in 6 months. But like, just because you wear the shoes doesn't mean
Yeah.
you play basketball. But like, you believe you are. I don't know. I am trying to think of an example. I'm sure I've met someone like this where it's like, I don't know. Or like, there's the age old question: if you don't compete, are you a weightlifter?
Yeah. Right.
Type of a deal. Which I feel like that that question isn't asked for, are you a CrossFitter, if you don't compete. But there's also like a line between sport and fitness aspects of CrossFit
Yeah.
versus that line is not really, I mean, it's there, but it's not really as, I guess, accepted in some circles in weightlifting.
Yeah. I feel like
Or
not that
powerlifting. Like, are
it's
you a
more
power
in,
lifter? Not everyone who squat, benches, and deadlifts is a power lifter.
right. Yeah. And I don't yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if they would call themselves a power lifter. But weightlifting I feel like is very like snatch and clean and jerk is kind of niche. Meaning if you're only doing those things or like centered around those things and you're
Yeah.
not competing, then it becomes like I think it's more like, oh, that's odd. But
Yeah.
squat, bench, deadlift, people always see as like, oh, okay, that's just a part of the stuff.
And I guess two good examples of this, of like maybe the faker kind of a deal, it would be martial arts itself. Like, yeah, I'm a martial artist and whatnot. It's like, yeah, you watch MMA and you wear the t-shirts and stuff like that, but you'd get your ass kicked in any situation that ever
Yeah.
required you to defend yourself. Or bodybuilding. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I bodybuild. I'm a bodybuilder, and it's like, you don't look like it, you don't eat like it. Are you really a bodybuilder? Because you're not going to step on stage, and you don't live that life. Which I guess for the fakers or things like that, like just going down this lane, the thing that exposes you is the thing that you say that you are. Like, oh, I'm a CrossFitter, but I only come in on the heavy days. Well, but when you sign up for the open, it will expose you.
Yeah.
You know, or if you come to the community event, you'll be exposed, or any kind of a situation like that when you're finally talked into doing the thing. Or if you're a bodybuilder, or you're a martial artist, and you talk to all your friends and buddies about how dangerous you are and all that stuff, and then you get rocked at some place because you thought you were tougher than you were and you had no defense skills or something like that. I see. Actually, Instagram likes to feed me videos of that all the time, where they're like, look at this guy and whatnot. He thought he was tough and whatnot, and then just boom. It's like, just don't put yourself in those situations. Just don't go out to those places, whatnot. And also, don't assume that someone can't defend themselves, because boy, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You know, and it's that's what I see a lot in those videos, where like, oh, you clearly don't feel threatened by that person, and you should be if you knew their resume and whatnot. They just don't look the part. Isn't there one MMA guy who, like, he just looks like he's just a big guy? He's not particularly cut or anything, and he's like one of the best in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of MMA guys.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury, is that his name? He's just a really
Tyson
big
Fury
guy.
is a boxer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Once you get to those heavier weight classes too, where you're like, yeah, they might just. It's weightlifting too, right? Where it's like certain weight classes, you're like, all right, that guy's really like jacked and whatever, but he may not be the one lifting the most weight in his weight class in that session.
Yeah, like the general public, when they think of like a weightlifter, their mind kind of skews towards bodybuilding still. So you see like this like 96 kilo, 94 kilo, 102, 100 kilo guy with this big belly and like not the most impressive arms. And you're like, he can snatch 400 pounds, and it's like, well, yeah, because like he's strong for his sport. That's what they look like.
Right.
You have that belly. Like if you look at it, like they all like have this power belly. That's just how it is. They're not concerned with having big arms because they have to move athletically, and their arms just need to be strong for very specific things. So yeah, we've got, so see, there's so many rabbit holes to go down on this like training versus learning type of thing, and like most of it skews towards training, and then what do you view yourself as? What is even your intention down the line? Like for you, like, all right, you might start doing elements of triathlon training before others. That doesn't mean you're not, it's not geared towards an end goal. And maybe even for you, even though you're not training like biking before you're training the other parts of it, you still signed up for the competition.
Yeah.
So there's a date that you're getting ready for, and it doesn't mean you have to do a triathlon every single training session to be training as a triathlete,
Yeah.
has his own specific training. Kind of like how, like, if you're a bodybuilder, you're not posing, every time you go to the gym. That's the end result kind of part of it.
Yeah.
And then all the training you do has, like, you would never know that that's the thing you're going to do. If, like, you have someone who had absolutely no idea what bodybuilding was, and you followed someone around and you, like, observed their training, you have some alien from Mars, and they're like, all right, let's see how this bodybuilder creature does it. And then you look at the end result and you're like, oh, I had no idea that was coming up. That, like, you saw them lifting all the weights, eating, doing all that stuff, all this impressive, strength feats. And then all of a sudden you see them on a stage in a Speedo, all tanned up, just doing things that you're like, wait a minute, how did that even happen?
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool to think about. It's a fun thought experiment. Yeah. And we'll see how it goes for Jordan.
Yeah.
He's doing great. We'll meet on Tuesday for his last on-ramp session. We'll do the snatch again. We'll do the clean, and then we'll add the jerk in finally. And we'll see. I'm most interested in that. I already am thinking with the jerk, the back foot is going to be an issue, just because it always is an issue.
Yeah.
But I think more so with what he's been used to now with his back leg on the katas and turning his foot, that might be something that has to be worked against. And that might, I feel like out of everything that's being done, that might be the most confusing part on these two split motions on what's going on. I feel like the front part of the kata lends itself nicely to a jerk on just moving your front leg. We got that. But then not letting the back foot collapse. Now that's another problem. What do you think? You think there's going to be any conflict there?
Yeah, I think it's different than what people always expect anyway. Like, even talking to Kylie, who recently started with Barbell Club, and her explaining, like, because you guys were doing the footwork for the split, and she was like, I'm not used to doing the split jerk, so that's been, like, different. Yeah, I think if you're not used to that, because it's like, it's not a lunge. You have to move dynamically into that move. It'll get anybody.
It's funny how it's the weirdest of the three. The clean is, like, totally not the weird one at all. It's like the most intuitive, normal one. You just do it naturally if you have to pick something up. The snatch is weird because you have a wide grip. And it's scary because the bar disappears out of your eye line. Oh, I don't know where it went. And then the jerk is like, I mean, I wonder how many people out there, not from a CrossFit world or weightlifting strength world, just in the general gyms, how many people purposefully overhead press, just even with that, just with a barbell pressing up overhead, and actually train it, like, instead of just like a one-off type of thing.
Well, that's the thing too. I feel like, I mean, even if you go to me, it's like, it feels safer to keep your feet planted.
Yeah.
Because, like, the front rack feels very safe. It feels like you should be done here. But if somebody's like, all right, you're holding a box, now put it over your head, like, you wouldn't jump to put it over your head. Like, that would be insane. Like, that would feel like the most unsafe thing. So everything wants to be grounded. Yeah. Everything wants to be grounded still. So, like, that's why people always opt for, I see a lot of people do, like, they give you, like, foundational movements, like military press, strict press. And then, like, if it's really heavy, like, people will push press whether they know it or not. But, like, leaving the ground, I think it's the, like, getting underneath the thing.
Yeah.
I think that's where it leaves people, where they're like, that doesn't seem right.
When have you ever done it in your life outside of CrossFit?
Right.
I can't think of any time. No. when I have to do something like moving something heavy, putting something onto someone's car, it just never ever comes up, you know.
Because in your mind, like if I have to bend my knees to catch this thing over my head, it is too heavy for me to be moving by myself. Is
Yeah.
how it always feels. Like if you're like, all right, I can just throw this up there and now I'm locked out, then fine. I can then shimmy this on the shelf or whatever. But if you're like, all right, my knees are going to have to bend once this goes overhead and then I'm going to have to stand up, you're like, I'm just going to wait until somebody can help me because that seems insane.
Yeah. Is this the most functional of the functional?
I mean,
The most
I do think
dysfunctional
it
or
like
unfunctional?
it unlocks things. Like I remember because the clean is it feels like the most like if you're carrying, I remember we were carrying like shelves when we were redecorating our space for Express. So I had like shelves that were like, it perfectly fit for like a snatch. Like if it was at my hips, like my arms were fully extended on either end of the shelving. And like you can't always clean things up to your shoulders. But like since I knew the snatch, it was like I could carry more boards because I didn't have to worry about bending my arms. I would just hip snatch them overhead and I knew that they were like locked out. So like that helped. And like now because I know the movement, like I wouldn't do it for something like really heavy, but I know that I can like, all right, I might actually have to split jerk to get this over my head like comfortably. And if like I don't want to use too much of my back right now to like really press this up, like I might just sink down because I know that I can do it. So that in those instances, it does help for sure. But yeah, if it's a new movement for people, 100%.
And who knows? It might be more prevalent now because of CrossFit and people just kind of like seeing it. But I think that that's like a situation where, you know, I wonder if people, if coaches recruit the way they used to. Like Glenn used to talk about how he would go to a football game and he would look for all the kids that didn't make the team. And he would like spot a kid that's just sitting there doing nothing. And so he would send his other kids that were with him that were already on the team, hey, go ask that kid if he wants to try weightlifting, and then find people like that. And he found like freak athletes like that. He had one athlete, Justin, who they called Moppy because he had a full moppy head of hair, and his brother, and he ended up like jerking 170 plus off the blocks. And it's
Yeah.
like, just found him just sitting there on a bench, just watching the game because they didn't make the team, but everyone's still in the town went to the game, you know. So it's like if you're like in a Globo gym and you see people like push pressing, but you see like some guy or some lady like dipping under a little bit, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like they do that intuitively. They do that
Yeah.
like
Right.
no one told them to drop under it. So if I just tell them a little more, they might already be a natural person to do the jerk, you know. Which if you find someone who naturally takes to the jerk, boy, a lot of work is done, and that means they might naturally be okay with dropping under for the other two,
Yeah.
because everyone wants to go up when we really got to go down. So yeah, I don't know if people recruit that way. Can in today's climate and world, can you recruit that way anymore? You think?
Yeah. I mean, high school sports, I mean, our volleyball team was made up of essentially like half rejects. Like our team would gain 3 or 4 people after tryouts for soccer ended, after tryouts for this and that ended. Like, yeah, I mean, and then that's how you get people where you're like, yeah, you would have never even known that you're a good front blocker because you were worried about making the soccer team.
Yeah.
But now we have you, so let's use what we can. Um, yeah,
It's funny, you know, that it works out that way in this country, and then there's other countries that they have like all the coaches come around, they measure your limb lengths and stuff like that, and they're like, no, you go soccer, you go to do that. And then
right.
us, we just have sports that are like trying to catch everyone that didn't make it to the most popular ones.
Yeah, that's our thing. And then I think we get people after they're done with things, which, is also another thing. Like a lot of CrossFit is like ex gymnasts or ex swimmers who it's like,
Yeah.
wow, because of what you learned there, like you're so much better at these things. Or it's like you were already built for this aspect of CrossFit. You were just using it in swimming. And now that you're done, you can continue to use it in this form. But we probably could have gotten you earlier in had you highly specified in this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good example, Colby Ferguson. He's like has incredible strength. And I can't remember, did he come from football?
Yeah.
So he came from football. And people have been saying it for years that like in the United States, we have the best athletes in the world. That like that they would we would just dominate the Olympics. It would be crazy. Like we would just be unbeatable. But the thing is, we lose so many athletes to sports that just have money, and
Yeah.
why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you get money, fame, generational wealth, all that stuff instead of going to like a little dimly lit gym and fighting with a frustrating sport where like you've already done this before or whatnot, and then there's these rules, you touch it with your foot and or your arm wiggles a little bit and your whole
Yeah.
family's like, we don't even know why he didn't get that lift, and then like, well, this is lame. So
Yeah.
it's like, why would you? And so like but also there's got to be so many instances of those athletes not making those teams and then just kind of like starting up a mowing business or some kind of a manual labor job. And I think USA weightlifting is hopefully getting better about being like, hey, who didn't make the team? Come try weight. Right? They got it. Like, isn't it kind of crazy that if they haven't been doing that, would it be
Who
crazy
would they
if they have been
use?
doing that?
Right? Like who would they use to do that? Because again, it's like, why would a kid want to do that? Honestly, I see a lot of kids who had trainers in like junior high, high school, but their goal was to always be better for tryouts next year. Like if you didn't make the team and your parents had money, then you could go to a trainer and they train you specifically to
Yeah.
get there. Even what is it? Is it garage strength?
Dave Miller? Dane Miller?
Yes, I believe so. But like his gym, I feel like is more of like a just strength and conditioning, where he's just trying to get people stronger for whatever they may want. And maybe, yes, he's there and like, oh, if it doesn't work out, then just come train weightlifting with us while you're here. All right, you don't have to worry about this season that's currently going on because you didn't make the team. You're training. We do have this meet coming up. So you can have things like that, but a lot of the trainers also aren't even weightlifters. So who
Yeah.
would you have to like do those scoutings of like, oh yeah, and go out there and see what kids we can essentially rescue from like boredom or getting into trouble after school because they don't have a program to go to. Like a lot of most schools will not have purely weightlifting.
Yeah, I know, and we've seen them at the national events like Texas, Oklahoma. They're all wearing the Longhorns
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, that list of college teams university teams should be way bigger than what it actually is. And I don't, yeah, I think it's just something that they have to build up. There has to be a department that does this, kind of, and tries to get weightlifting into more schools. But then again, it's like, all right, well, who's going to run that program? Who's going to be there in the weight room? And are they good? Are they sanctioned by us? All that kind of stuff. Or and then the hard part is too, let's say they're like, hey, James, we're going to do this with you, Albany, and all that stuff. Well, it's like, okay, you want me to do it for free? Why wouldn't they just be members of my club? Like why would I be like, because you have so much of that going on in this country. It's like, oh yeah, well, I found this athlete, they're my athlete, they're not your athlete until they qualify for that thing, and then I'm still involved.
Yeah, I
It's
remember
messy here.
around like last summer, I was talking to the athletic director at UAlbany, not UAlbany, Albany High. We were talking about like weightlifting in general, because they had like pretty decent facilities and all this, and that was the thing of just like, oh yeah, you almost forget, especially now with like a corporate job, that like when I get out at 5, when I was a kid, like 5 o'clock, you're done with practice. Like school is over by like 2:33. Like your practice is right after school.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how would I even get there? Like if I was to do this again, like a not paid thing, but like even if I was to give them like basics, it's like how many days would I actually be able to get over there? And then the logistics of like which equipment are we using, all this stuff, even if it is cool to use this equipment, am I outnumbered by these kids and by how much? And then like how strict is this program? Is it just going to be me? Do I bring a team? If you bring a team, again, we're all volunteers. And yeah, it's tough when weightlifting doesn't have a big like draw in this
Yeah.
country.
And parents have a maybe not the best, view on it. They may, oh, it's dangerous because they're always told that it's dangerous, which it's not.
Yeah.
It's been so disproven. And then, you have to have an individual there that if there are 40 kids, can they handle and group manage 40 kids and get this
Yeah.
training done and not program dumb things? And then also, do they have that level of altruism where they would do it for the love of the game and do it for free? Like so many of like being paid now as a coach and whatnot, it's a newer thing.
Yeah.
Like if you go back 10 years and then definitely 20 years, all those coaches, they weren't charging their athletes. You look at a lot of those Olympians and whatnot, and whoever their coach was, they were training them for free. You were Miguel Porter, you went to your 9 to 5 job or whatever it was. You're out in the steel mill. You're doing all kinds of stuff, and then you come in, and then Coach James is there. You're not paying me a dime. I have other side things that I'm doing just to keep the lights on in here, and it's all just get you to the Olympics and whatnot. We do fundraisers, we do car washes. The kids they do all that stuff, and you probably just have just one athlete like that. But you're doing this for like 10 other athletes because you don't know which one's gonna
Yeah.
make it. And you might even have a side job. Like I might be a chiropractor and I have a private practice. That's where I make my money. And then all my money that I make goes into this gym and to pay the rent there and to do that. That's how it was back in the day. And I remember during that like 2012, 20, we'll say 15. I might have been maybe 16. You would talk to a lot of people and they were almost like, I can't believe coaches are charging these kids or charging these athletes. Like they were just not understanding it or completely
Yeah.
against it. And then now I'll hear stories about coaches who, all right, you guys are going out to the Arnold. Well, it's going to cost this much to get me out there, like or something like that. So you have to pay for your coach's room, board, flight, all that stuff. A lot of that's how it is for a lot of places too.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess to like circle it all the way back of like training versus just learning or like working out is like, yeah, that commitment as well of like, there's so many things competing for everyone's time and money, and the cost of living itself is going up and the cost of spaces is going up and all these things. And it's like, what are you willing to put in as an athlete or even as a kid? Like we have people who do like their, again, like private training for their kids where they're like, yeah, if you're going to be doing a sport, I'd rather you as a parent also like don't waste my time later on in high school by being like a bench warmer on a team. Like while we have you and you have this interest, all right, here's what it's going to take for you to be good at it when you're older. You have to start
Yeah.
investing now, get ready into training now so that later on all these things are this way for you. And yeah, I do think a lot of it is like intentional again of like, how interested are you in this thing? How
Yeah.
much do you care? Because like, as a coach too, if you are going to be volunteering time in this day and age, the second a kid's like seems like they're just playing around that day, and I've seen coaches do that too, where they're like, "Okay, we're done. That's fine. All right, everyone, you can take off all your stuff. We're done for today." And I totally get it, because they're like, "I just worked all day, and you guys are coming here to play around. Like, if we're not going to be
Yeah.
serious, then we're done."
Well, yeah, like that coach, like he hasn't eaten dinner yet. It's like this whole thing is like a constant point of tension between him and his wife because he's getting home late. All these things, he's got his own kids to think about. But so yeah, it has to be a collective effort, like
Yeah,
athlete, coach, parents, community around it, teammates to get someone up there. I remember one story that's in the book. Trey, Trey Goodwin. You've met Trey. He's come out here a couple times. He ditched practice one day and didn't tell Glenn, didn't tell anybody. He's like, oh, I'm just not going to go to practice. And Glenn was calling like all around town, like his grandma, his parents, other kids and friends. Have you seen Trey? Imagine like you skipped practice thinking you were gonna get away from it, and then like I'm calling like your mom. I'm like, do you know where Miguel is? Like
yeah,
he was supposed to be at training today at 5. And then finally he gets a hold of him and it's 9 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess we can't do it. And he's like, I'm still at the gym. I'll see you in 30 minutes and
yeah,
whatnot. And then there they are at 9 o'clock at night doing the trainings solo just for you. He's just standing there just for you as you went all around town doing whatever it is that you want to do.
yeah,
Because the training's got to get done. And I guess that's also one way as a coach you can show that it's important to your athletes on being like, nope, I didn't go home. I'm still here. I'm still
yeah,
waiting. Of course, that could get taken advantage of and get way out of control, but
yeah.
it's and I don't know. I don't know if we live in a different time now than what all was happening back in the day. I don't know. Do we?
For sure. And again, I think it's like there's so much vying for the kids' attention these days. And I think even as like, because it's like I'm young, but like at 28, there were people fully coaching groups of athletes. Like I even think about some of my coaches back in junior high when like they were teachers, but they were young teachers, and it usually ends up being the younger teachers
Volunteers,
that
right?
also, like my science teacher 7th grade was also my football coach 8th grade. And like I remember, yeah, because he was my science teacher 7th grade. He coached the football team then too, but I didn't play that year. But I used to box, and he used to go to the same gym that I boxed at after my class was done.
Mm.
So we had those interactions. And then the next year when I played, I wasn't boxing anymore because the timing, but thinking like, oh, he used to go to school, work his job as a science teacher, do football practice right after, then go to his own like kickboxing, boxing gym and get his workout in after that. So it's like, especially for what time we started school, like his day probably started at 5 and ended at like 10.
It's a long
And
day.
then grading when he got home, and then, like all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, but like, and that's like a good example. If you're like, oh, look at all, if he can do all that stuff, I like. It's always like the different perspectives on like how much time is there in the day. It's like it's just how you
Yeah.
plan it and use it. You can get a lot of stuff done, or you cannot. And there's a lot of modern day distractions that can insidiously eat
Right.
your time. Um, don't watch X Files all day. and,
And it's like a temperament thing of like, how will I be on those days when they're misbehaving? Will I
yeah,
remember that they're kids, or will I be thinking about the fact that I've sacrificed all these things? Or like, what happens a lot too is like when those teachers have their first kid, they're like, I'm done. I'm no longer coaching. That's insane. I can't do that. And you're like, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a passion for the sport that you're coaching as well kind of helps. And yeah, I guess intention, the like hope that one of these kids will be great and you'll have like a piece of that. Even if like you don't get credit, you're like, I was a part of that journey. I'm glad that I was able to be a positive influence. But yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, and you have to be ready for all of it. Like look at I mean, look at like Danny Carmargo started off Maddie Rogers. She started in CrossFit, and then he started, and then they kind of had, I guess, a falling out. I don't even know. She went to another team, another coach, and then you do as like an onlooker out notice that like when all the thanks and stuff are happening that like never mentioned. And but then like how many times did he probably open the gym just for you, never charged you a membership or this or that, or paid for your gas, or like I don't know what all was done. It could be none of that too, right? But like that's always an interesting thing too. But that's just part of life and relationships and sport.
Yeah.
Overall, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool stuff to think about. That I mean, it's so much more than just the barbell, like
Right.
or just
Yeah.
whatever the activity is. Fun to think about. Cool. Well, Miguel, any other thoughts on training beginners, integrating them into class, learning versus training, the X-Files, how long it's going to take me to get through the full series, any of that stuff?
Yeah, I obviously, as we know, it's like fundamental to like let people build their way up to the level of training that they're going to get to, no matter what it is. So for you to do like this on ramp for weightlifting, similar to just like for CrossFit, for anything, if you're personal training someone before your like real quote unquote real sessions start, just building them up so that they feel this idea of like, here's what it's going to feel like in,
Yeah.
again, like to relate the whole thing of like, is this what you want? Are you going to be intentional about this? If you're hitting a point before we even get to the real thing of like, oh, maybe this isn't for me, we can either adjust and be like, okay, well, how can we compromise? How can we do this? Maybe you're in this many days instead of this many days. Maybe you only want to do it this way or this, and how can we work, or how can I bring you to the right person that can work with you on this? But yeah, I think overall just being intentional and having people know what they want, or at least on a path of like figuring that out before, you fully dive into something.
Yeah, exactly. First time I spoke to him on the phone, I said, "This is what we do. Is that what you're looking for?" Because I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't interpreting barbell club as something else. And then I told him exactly what it is. And then we got into the gym, and then we went through the whole thing of like, it's not about the weight. You got to get this right. He's holding positions. He's working just PVC pipe. He's getting excited when it feels right, and whatnot. Giving him praise or telling him when he needs to do things better, and we work on it. And also, like laying out the expectations. Just like I've given him like not outs, but like just on like the what the law is, like this is how it's going to go. So now there's always an out after that, like you just said. Like at any point, you don't have to do this. I don't have any kind of hopes or dreams for you other than like I hope that we can help you do whatever it is that you want to do. And right now he just wants to learn about this and get stronger. So that's a very vague thing that we can whittle down. And I also know in the back of my head, I don't have to sell this at all. Like he's having a good time. All I need to do is give him the expectations and make him feel welcome. And that's why when you guys all came in, I introduced you to him, and I also introduced him to Haley. And I think everybody else there kind of got there too late. Otherwise, I would have introduced him to everybody.
Yeah.
Had we have kept going all the way up to Barbell Club, I would have introduced him to the whole group. But also, I had to make sure that I had time to get the TV on and do the things I needed to do before that. But I know that once he's in, boy, is it a fun experience. It's I feel like he'll get hooked right away. And that was like the same with Kylie. Like as soon as she was just pretty much remotely trained or personal trained with a lot of remote emphasis. So she hadn't been in group classes really. So that's why it was perfect that she was joining in a time where we weren't going to take anyone in, where it's just like, okay, do CrossFit while we prepare for states. I'm not ready for you yet. And then that was my way of just having her be exposed to group training, receiving coaching in real time, keeping on a schedule, all these things. I knew that was my plan for her. I'm like, the CrossFit class will take care of that for you. And it'll allow me to see you do a variety of things to know we got to work on that squat. We got to do this. We got to do that. All the things that will just funnel their way back to snatch and clean jerk anyways. And then boom, she joined. And then she's like, that was so different. And I had so much fun. So I know the Barbell Club is going to take care of it itself. Yeah. Once you get in there, like again, once you come in, I lock the door behind you. I'm like, well, that's it. You're in Hotel California. There's no going back after this.
Right.
So that will take care of itself. But it's just, what is the lead up now and the way to get in there? And in the past, we've had people just jump in, and that's just more painful than it needs to be for everybody. Me, them, all of you guys. So we'll just do it better this way, and we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to go well with all of them. So, and then at some point, I think I do have to consider when to put up the we can't take anyone anymore. There's 12 of you in here already. We've never in the history of the club really stressed that cap too much. It's happened like a little bit when there was like Mary Claire and Sam and David and Ashanya and so that there was a time where we were like reaching the cap and it was just manageable, but like can't do 15, can't do 20.
It depends. I think certain things would have to change, but I mean, like, we're not even sharing barbells, which is, but I don't know.
Can I get you guys to share barbells? That's a whole.
But I mean, for what? Like, we don't need to yet.
Well, yeah, we don't need to.
But yeah, I think it would just have to be a switch. But yeah, I know what you mean.
We're sharing squat racks, and also the core group has like progressed enough where it's like we can do that. There's either good enough know-how on like how to manage that squat rack. Like I could have Jennifer doing back squats in the lower 100s and Haley doing back squats up in like the 120ish, 130 area, and they would manage that squat rack perfectly, not an issue. But now go to regular class and having people manage a squat rack on like who goes first, all that stuff. They're calculating weights together. It's like, just put on the next weight. What are you guys doing? You guys aren't done with warm up set 3. We should be starting right now. It's a whole thing. But at least with having an onboarding system, it makes the trickle in slow versus like, all right, well, we're not going to have like 5 people who just randomly join from another gym or something because they want to try. You just sign up and then boom, you're in. And that throws off the whole feng shui of what it is we're doing. It's like, nope, you got to meet with me first. Hello, I'm your tour guide. Let's get started. And then if you can't do that, then I don't know how you can do this.
Right.
So cool. Well, good talk today, Miguel. I guess we won't see you in training tomorrow. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe I'll be at the gym again. It's nice to just have the maybe, but yeah.
I guess. Oh my God! Like there'd be so many times where if it's too cold out, that I'm not going in. Like I'm not ready to be cold or anything right now. So like I would totally do that. Where it's like actually there've been some Mondays and Wednesdays where it's been cold and I've like been doing things around my house and like almost like settling in. and I'm like the way it's getting dark out there, it changes the lighting in here. Maybe I'll cook something. And then I'll sit down and I'm like, oh, I need to go to the gym eventually. Have I done the cards? Like, have you done that where you're just settling in?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the time of year to do it. When it's hot and everything, you're not settled in at all. Everything's uncomfortable. You got the air conditioning on. It doesn't there's a way that the season goes right now where it's like, oh, we should all be winding down to go to bed at 8:00. We should all be doing that. That's what I feel. But instead we're all like, we're starting something now. And you guys are going to do intense exercising at 8:00 at night and then go home and try to go to bed. We're just doing crazy things right now, but cool. All right. Well, I will see you when I see you. We'll see what happens. Miguel, where can people follow you?
At Couldn't Be Miguel on Instagram.
Awesome. Follow me, James A. McDermott. Follow the Barbell Club at Albany Cross the Barbell Club. We will talk again soon.